On the night of May 20th, 1958, a young man named Ram Thapa walked towards the entrance of an abandoned airport in eastern India. He was trailing behind 3 other men. They were his boss, another employee of his boss, and then a friend of his boss. It was pitch black outside, and so all 4 men had flashlights. But Ram also had a huge knife. The reason they were there is Ram's boss was considering buying this airport. However, there were these rumors floating around that this airport was now haunted ever since being abandoned. But Ram's boss wanted to go and check it out before he actually considered really buying this place. And so Ram's boss reached the gate, he unlocked it, and pushed it open. And they're shining their lights inside, and all they see are just these old hangars and different big buildings and broken down planes. And so Ram's boss and the other 2 men, they're walking along, and Ram's in the back, and Ram totally believed that this place really was haunted. He's so uneasy, he feels practically sick to his stomach. Everywhere he looked, he would think that he saw a shadow, a ghost staring back at him, but he would shine the light and nothing would be there. And eventually, they reached the actual runway. They began shining their lights predominantly off to the side, where there was this huge hangar, and they were all shining their lights in the different windows to see if, anybody was inside of there. Ram takes his flashlight and he aims it straight out in front of them. And he sees maybe a couple 100 meters away, just off to the side of the runway, is what appears to be this floating orb. And immediately he keeps his light trained on this orb, and he signals to his boss and the others like, hey, look at this. And they all turn and they also see it. They notice that there was not just this orb of light, but there was something below the orb of light, like on the ground. Something was moving, this grayish figure or multiple figures. The dark figures right below the orb, they turned, and all these eyes glinted and looked directly back at Ram and his colleagues. He was so scared, and it was like when he saw these eyes, he didn't have any idea what they were, but he knew they were evil, and if he didn't act, they were doomed. And so, with knife in hand, Ram took off running towards the figures. A few hours later, Ram and his colleagues were no longer at the airport. Instead, they were at the police station. Ram was in handcuffs. It would turn out those figures that they spotted that Ram went to go confront with his knife were not actually ghosts. Instead, they were 3 women who had come onto the airfield as well, but just to pick flowers. That orb of light that the men had seen was just their lantern. Ram had been so convinced they were ghosts that he had taken off and attacked them with his knife. He had been wrong. These were just women, and he killed one of them and severely wounded the other 2. And so ultimately, he was charged with murder and assault. However, when he went on trial, he was actually acquitted of all charges because the jury genuinely believed that Ram actually thought he was attacking ghosts, not people.